Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'd like to go ahead and call the Town of Port Royal November 3rd public hearing to order. Ben, if you go ahead and read the ordinance, please.
Yeah, the first ordinance is ordinance 2021-33, an ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate construction of sidewalks within the town described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, Map 10, Parcel 113. This is approximately 100 feet on 15th Street. Up on the screen, you have a map of the location.
That's right here.
And there you can see it and it's a continuation of some existing sidewalks, so it is in compliance with the sidewalk construction policy.
Thank you, Ben. Please let me know if there's any public comment.
There is none. All right.
And move on to item B, please.
Yeah, 2021-34, an ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate construction of sidewalks within the town described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, Map 10, parcels 384, 370, 369, 368, and 158. This is approximately 150 feet. Located on 12th Street. It is up on the screen. Because of the length of the sidewalk, it is also in compliance with the sidewalk construction policy. And I do not see any public comments. And nobody's raising their hand, so if you want me to, I'll move on to the next one.
Very good, thank you.
All right. The next is ordinance 2021-35, an ordinance to rezone approximately 5.18 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, Map 9, Parcel 180, and Beaufort County, South Carolina to be rezoned from T4 Neighborhood Center to T4 Neighborhood Center Open. This is property located at 1251 Ladies Island Drive. There is a map up on the screen. We do have a representative of the applicant here. I don't see any other comments or requests for comments for this parcel. And I don't know if the rep or the applicant has anything you'd like to add. If not.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. I was before you guys a couple of times in the past, once at a workshop and then another time at a first reading in regard to this particular tract of land. At that time, the Metropolitan Planning Commission had reviewed this, but did so without the benefit of having counsel there to kind of explain it. So I did go. Noah invited me, and I went and explained to them, what we were asking here. I went through the mechanics of it, which you all understand. Their position was that they didn't have any jurisdiction over it anymore, that they had already made a decision, and that therefore, they appreciated me showing up, and they appreciated me talking about what the request was for. I talked about how the existing assisted living facility was a non-conforming use, that it would be permitted under T4 NC Open, that the property was being sold to be used as an assisted living facility but of a different type, so it would no longer be grandfathered, which was why we were trying to get the rezoning. They appreciated what I had to say. We talked about the traffic issues. We talked about cars coming down fast over that bridge. I pointed out to them that there wasn't going to be any appreciable change in the traffic patterns. I mean, this particular tract is completely built out in a residential fashion. There's not going to be an increase in the number of cars coming out onto the road, and they were appreciative of me sharing that. But again, they didn't feel like they had jurisdiction to change their recommendation. So, but I did want to report back to you that I have gone before the Metropolitan Planning Commission, did explain this request to them. Noah was kind enough to go ahead and kind of give a background to them as well, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But I think I've covered it fairly well the first couple times I was here.
I agree.
Very good. As long as there's no public comment, we move on.
All right.
I do have a question in regards to
Daryl
that.
has one.
Since this has been presented again before the Metropolitan Planning Commission, did we get any feedback from them?
They wouldn't.
No,
Other than that they didn't have the power, or they didn't feel that they had the jurisdiction to change anything, but
I don't think that they made any
recommendation?
They didn't make any changes to their opinions on the record.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was just to allow the applicant a chance.
Yeah, they made some of the same comments that were made here about how the concern was increasing the number of cars that might come out on the Ladies Island Drive. And I went through and explained how the parcel is completely built out. It's got residential structures there. It's going to be simply the same use as for all practical purposes than it was, but again, they felt like procedurally, they didn't have jurisdiction to change their earlier opinion.
Fair enough, thank you.
Fair? Would say no? Okay. Well, I
Thank you.
appreciate it very much, guys. I'll see you for, I think,
Next
the
week.
first of next month for the next reading.
Next week,
Next Wednesday.
next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
A week from
Next
today.
Wednesday.
I'll be here. All right.
Thank
Thanks, guys.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right, next ordinance is 2021-36, an ordinance creating Chapter 12, Section 82 of the Port Royal Code of Ordinances, regulating ice cream trucks in the town of Port Royal. If you recall, council asked that we consider amending our zoning code to allow ice cream trucks, and we have drafted and created a standalone ordinance that would allow for the ice cream trucks with some stipulations that were very similar to what was in the city of Beaufort. And I don't know if we need to go through those or not. Obviously, we're going to discuss the ordinance a little bit later. But this is for public comment anyway, so if there's any public comment regarding ice cream trucks, I know you all love ice cream trucks, it should be easy. There, all right. That is the last ordinance for the public workshop. Public hearing. Yeah.
Did you disconnect the screen from there so the lady's speaking, but we don't hear him or see him?
Yeah.
We still have them.
You switch HDMIs.
Yeah, we're not gonna be able to take that
Yeah,
off.
okay.
There we go.
3.
Oh, there you go.
There
I am here.
All right, there we go. Cool.
Okay, we're good. We're ready to start the regular workshop.
Yes.
Well, we'll go ahead and get the Town of Port Royal November 3rd Council Workshop to order. Before we get started, first of all, I would like to congratulate our 2 council members who have been re-elected to serve the Town of Port Royal. I look forward to working with you for the next 2 years until my term comes up and see what happens at that point. But congratulations, and thank everybody for their participation in the election and what was done in that matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next thing I would like to say is we all see that Jerry Ashmore is missing. I would ask that everybody keep Jerry and his family in his prayers, that Jerry has lost his mother, and please keep him in your prayers. Council, anything they'd like to add?
Nothing further.
I'm good.
Ben, I do not hear you. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. All right.
Did council have anything else they'd like to add?
No.
Then we'll go ahead with the presentation.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I am before you today to present the Port Royal 2030 Comprehensive Plan. This is a process that has been going on since, if you can find the day that you realized COVID was a thing, that's probably the day that the process was started. So it's been a long one. It has had some trials based on the restrictions that we had because of COVID. But just to give an overview for everybody who might be listening, municipalities are required to adopt a comprehensive plan which is updated. Each element is updated every 10 years. There are 5-year updates that are done as well when deemed necessary, but we are at the point where we're doing our 10-year update that is required by state planning legislation. And we are, as you probably are aware, more than 10 years past that point.
Yeah.
So this document is a guide for all aspects of a municipality, and further, it allows us to rely on our zoning code. If we don't have this adopted, our zoning code there's no backup at the state level if we haven't done this. So this is a very important document for the town and guiding its development. So, Van, if you could just go to the next page. So what I'm going to do is kind of guide you all through this process and the things that we've come up with. One of the focuses for this process was resiliency. That's a new required element for comprehensive plans in the state of South Carolina. So there was a large focus placed in this process on kind of bringing placemaking and new development into the full with the natural environment, and how can we have harmony between the built environment and the natural environment in the town. We started with a community process that unfortunately wasn't able to unfold the way that we wanted it to. Dan, you can scroll down a bit, or Brooke, I'm sorry. So there were plans for public workshops, story mapping with the community. Some of those things were expected to happen in the summer of 2020. Obviously, we weren't able to do them. So the technical committee that was steering this process, one of whom is in the building, David, decided to give out a survey postcard to every residence in the town. I actually have not seen those postcards, so I'm not sure entirely what the input was from them, but I can tell you that it wasn't a great reception. I think that we got about 300 responses. So it was an unusual time to gain public input, and that's kind of one of the struggles that we've had throughout this process. You can scroll down, Brooke. So one of the first things that the design workshop did was to look at population growth in the town. As you can see from this chart, population has been growing in the town steadily since about 2000. And so what the consultant did was look at existing planned unit developments, what their capacity is, and how far they're built out now. They also looked at how much of that land would be able to hold how many people if they were to be residential development, and just looking at, based on our population growth, you know, we're from 2020 to 2030 looking at from 13,000 to mid 16,000s, and the land in these planned unit developments in the town, plus other suitable land for development, is about 4,000 people accommodated to live in the town over the next 10 years. One of the biggest parts of this process, again, was the resiliency stuff. So what was happening, because we were subcontracted with this consultant with the county, they began to look at what's called a green print plan. Basically, analyzing the area within the town and the rest of the county for several different things. You know, what is the water quality like in certain areas? How is connectivity with roads and trails? Is there passive recreation nearby? What kind of natural habitats are nearby? And what they came up with is this priority map. And so what you're looking at on the right there, if you are seeing blues or darker greens, which is a good portion of the town because we are on higher land here, those are lower priority areas for preservation. And then the reds and the yellows that you see very sparingly are the higher priority for preservation. So this was the start of the green print model that was used to incorporate resiliency into this plan. From there, we went from highest and lowest priorities of preservation to creating categories of how developable certain lands are. So on the right there, you're seeing the priority model for how developable an area is, where you're seeing the lightest greenish blue in the center areas is the most highly developable area or lowest priority for preservation. So it's kind of a different way to present the same information. So you can look at this map and see, okay, based on all of these different factors that we've brought in, here are the areas that are most likely to be suitable for development, and vice versa. From there, we were able to look at potential overlays. What does this mean for these areas? Are there things that we need to do to the zoning code? Are there policies that we need to create? Are there special design standards that we need to be thinking about in these areas that lower priority for development versus highly developable areas. So really we're looking at how can we achieve balance with development in the natural environment with this map. And if you can see a little bit more detail of each of those categories, if you could scroll down to the next one. So yeah, if you take a look at that table on the left, you'll see kind of how those categories are broken up based on developability. Moving on, the next thing that was done with this green print priority model, on the next page, please, Brooke, was to overlay this with zoning. So where you're seeing the cross-hatched areas, those are the areas that are most likely to be considered for preservation, and the areas that are not cross-hatched are what the zoning is in the areas that we would deem as developable, highly developable. And what you can see here is that there's kind of conflict in some places. But this was the jumping point to be able to say, we're focusing in on areas of town, and we know, based on all these different factors, that there are areas that are more developable. What are our development standards in that area? Do they reflect each other? The development standards in the zoning code reflect the fact that we want to focus development to certain areas. And then we took it a step farther. What we did from there was to start looking at what could these places look like, as far as you can get, into placemaking with a comprehensive plan, because really the reach of this document is not to get too fine-grained into these issues, but because of, our size as a municipality, it was easy to do that in some places. So what you're looking at here on this map, if you see a purple circle and a radius circle around it, there's only one. There's an area in the western side of town that was indicated as a potential mixed-use node. So that could be residential, it could be commercial, retail. And then the orange circles that you're seeing are smaller scale community nodes where it might be mostly residential, but we're working on focusing residential development to those areas. And then any green dot that you see is a possible access to a trailhead or water access. So basically what you're looking at there, especially in the purple mixed-use node area, is how can we provide a mixed-use area on the western side of town that follows the principles of the old village? Do we want development farther out into town to follow the principles that we like so much about this area of town? And then the next thing that was done after looking at mixed-use nodes was, okay, what do we have public transportation-wise? What would we need to connect these areas? There is an existing bus route that does make its way through town. It runs sparingly, I'm not sure about the intervals. But that Palmetto Breeze route is currently being revamped by Palmetto Breeze. They're looking at a trolley route that would run from downtown through town of Port Royal, and then back up Robert Smalls and loop back over to downtown Beaufort. So with that played into where can we put stops, where can we accommodate transit with these mixed-use nodes that we're looking at on the previous slide. So just getting kind of fine-grained into, it's almost like a master planning effort within this document. So we have some visual tools to guide us with those things. And then just to drive that point home on the next slide, we currently have form-based code zoning. What that means is moving from, on the left, you'll see Nature Preserve, and on the right is Main Street there. This is, form-based code is a great tool. We just have to have the right standards within that tool. So our zoning, it's taking the right steps towards these approaches if the zoning is lined up with the vision that this document has. But it is a great start because you can build those kind of gradual transitions from a more rural area into an urban area using these zoning districts. And then if we zoom in even farther on the west, this kind of brings it all together for you. And this is the thing that I was talking about being more of a master plan. We looked at that mixed-use node area, the purple one along Robert Smalls Parkway, and just kind of gave a closer look at, where are there existing residential areas, what zonings are around here, where exactly the developable areas are. As you can see there's still the cross-hatching there. So it brings everything into focus for West Port Royal, and is kind of a more detailed planning guide so that we're making sure that there are services, amenities, and connectivity in the western part of town. Just as a look at what that kind of mixed use focus area could do, and I'll let you read through these numbers on your own. Basically, if you were to look at how housing can be accommodated in a denser area, the numbers on the left that you're seeing are at a density of 3 dwelling units an acre. The numbers on the right are at 9 dwelling units an acre. And then that last number is affordable housing at 25% of a development. And so you can see the numbers of people and units that can be accommodated when you really do focus in and create denser development in certain areas rather than sprawl. And I believe that we also had, and then there's also a transit stop, I think, indicated on there as well. So just kind of giving a visual of what that might look like moving forward. And then the thing that brought this all together is the implementation and action plan at the end of this document. You'll probably recognize it because I borrowed from it for the bike and pedestrian plan that you all just adopted as well. So what's done here is we've laid out action items. So there aren't policies that then have underlying strategies in this implementation plan. We have, here are the actions that need to be taken. Investment levels, what kind of timing we're looking at, and the entities that are going to be involved with each of these actions. I'll get to that. So, whoever is in, this is going to be a living implementation plan. This could be pieced out between staff members, whatever, the sky is kind of the limit with using this as a tool for implementation. And then finally, I just wanted to fill you all in on the MPC's recommendation for this plan. Glenn Walters with Design Workshop presented to the Metro Planning Commission on October 18th. After some discussion and comment, the Metro Planning Commission recommended approval with conditions. That motion passed. And so we were left with a few conditions that the Planning Commission believes are necessary for this plan to be adopted by council. The first of which is to look at and revise the future and existing land use maps and the text that goes along with them to make sure that we're accounting for Lemon Island and Rose Island. It was felt that those areas as necessary for preservation were kind of given, not given enough airtime. So we're going to relook at that, make sure that those things are incorporated nicely. Second thing that was recommended was that we indicate which elements are in each chapter in this document. There are 10 now required elements in your comprehensive plans. Traditionally, they have each had their own chapter. What we have done in this document and Design Workshop kind of created a new approach to how exactly this document would be organized. When we're calling them themes, not chapter, each theme has several different elements intertwined within it. So part of that was coming from the resiliency requirement, and it built from there. So within each theme that you see in this document, there'll be several different elements. The one thing we did not do is tell folks which elements are in each theme, but there are existing ways to do that that Design Workshop has done for the county, and I think we just missed it in our document, so we're going to have to update each chapter. And then finally, it was suggested, and I am kind of taking on that role, that we need to do a deep edit for grammatical stuff, spelling stuff, and any other phrasings or wordings that are a little bit off. We have some things with proper nouns that are not labeled the correct way on maps, all those kinds of things, which aren't going to be detrimental to getting this plan adopted, but do need to be taken care of prior to second hearing in December. So, I think there was one more thing that I wanted to mention. Oh, yes, there was. Sorry, just yelled into the mic. When we looked at the implementation plan, you may or may not have noticed that one of the things we see is timing, and we get near term, mid-term, and long-term. We haven't indicated anywhere in the introduction to the action plan how long each of those ranges is. So that's something that I want to look at as well. Is we're saying, creating a strategic plan for passive parks is a mid-term project. Does that mean 3 years, 8 years? So that's one more thing that we need to look at and adjust if we need to. That is what I have for you now. I'd be happy to answer any and all questions that I can.
We'll post this presentation to the website tomorrow, so you can take a look at it. I know it's kind of hard to see with a couple of things going on the screen there.
Council, do you have any questions for Noah?
Any questions?
Yeah, I was just some real quick with you. I know that resiliencies comes up in it a lot. Could you kind of give what that means in this context?
Sure. Resilience, it's one of those words now where there's so many definitions that it could mean something to anybody in any given field. In this document, it really is, how are our facilities, how are our infrastructure being maintained, being developed in a way that's going to make sure that their lifespan is, as long as it can be, that maintenance is not going to be an issue. So it's those kind of coastal issues as far as facilities. And then it goes into also, how are we helping our residents to be either building in areas, living in areas or enjoying themselves in areas that are not at risk of flooding, are not at risk, higher risk of hurricane damage, that kind of thing.
Isn't that one of the things that, I don't remember correctly, like they're trying to get it so that when you go to sell your property, you have to let them know what area they live
Yeah, so that was part of the coastal resilience overlay that the county has been looking at. As far as I know, I believe they've tabled it. They've adopted the fill dirt ordinance. The coastal resiliency overlay kind of fell to the wayside when they were bringing both of those through council at the county level. That is something that has been looked at. There's a lot of moving pieces to that as far as the city and the county trying to get that done and us being involved. So yeah, that's the type of, there are policies that would breach into every single other element of the plan, but it's kind of the catch-all statement that we're using now is resilience.
Yeah, because when I was reading resiliencies, it's not just building, but it's on like everything. Yeah, like how do we?
I mean, we look at it from the human side, interacting with nature, but it also is the other way around. Are we causing marsh erosion?
No, I'll say the environmental considerations in it are extensive and impressive too, which is great. I was going to ask, what is the, because this is my first time going through a comp plan, what is, so what's the time, what's the time frame, what happens next? I mean.
So we have, the way that a comp plan, even just the way that it's adopted.
Yeah, like where do we go from here? So we've watched the presentation, then.
So it's a normal two readings.
Two readings, okay.
For adoption, and we were required to get the planning commission recommendation of approval to council.
Is there a deadline that second vote needs to be had?
No. We're lined up for December. There is not, we're at a point right now.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was, by the end of the year or.
No, we don't have a hard deadline because I believe that our technical expiration approval has already passed.
I don't know if there was
it is necessary that we get this passed as soon as possible.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was statutorily had to be done by this month or this year. That's fine, but I just didn't know.
I'm not aware of our specific date. It was July 2009 that the last 10-year update was adopted, so we're well past that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the state level, I haven't received any kind of correspondence from the state that I don't know if they would without, I'm kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, like I said, this is my first time going through the process, so I just kind of, what's the time frame? Where do we go from here?
They just want to make sure we have it.
Yeah, they want us to make sure that, it would still be, like, the current comprehensive plan is still a living document.
Mhm.
But none of that could be, none of our zoning regulations could be backed up at the state level unless we have the land use element of our comprehensive plan adopted. So that's where we need to get to make sure that our regulations are still.
Gotcha. And I was gonna ask, when you were talking about the form-based coding and just looking at,
Any comments?
yeah.
Yeah, Kevin's still commenting.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. Amy, when you get a chance, can you put up the presentation again when I get an opportunity?
Yeah.
When you were talking about the form-based coding and it's about looking at, does our zoning line up to what we have? You just kind of, I was asking, in your opinion, does it?
Yes, largely.
Largely, okay.
I would say that, the work that was done to make sure that the new zoning in 2014 was going to line up with existing and future land use was done well. We're close.
Yeah.
A lot of these areas, zoning was applied where maybe there was an existing neighborhood and it was kind of, but that doesn't, this document now can guide us to make changes if necessary.
Gotcha.
To adopt it. So
Yeah, I was just
that's
kind of figuring out
where we're at.
where
The zoning's
we're
so
at.
new.
Good.
The
That's-
zoning is also so new that we kind of have to meld everything together over years to get it to line up.
And is the entire comp plan, is it public yet?
Yeah, it's available. It's available in town hall. It's not online.
It's not online or anything?
We can put it on the
Okay.
website for public review as well.
And then, when you were talking at the end about putting a time frame on things, like a hard 3 years, 4 years, is that feasible? Does that hurt? Does that help? I mean, it's good to have a goalpost, but
Yeah.
can that be detrimental?
I wouldn't suggest that every single action have a hard deadline. More so, just acknowledging that each of these priority levels or timing levels have some kind of range. Obviously, a long-term range would be 10 years, but, where are we really looking? How short is short-term?
Yeah.
Near term.
I just didn't know if, putting it has to be done by this day.
No, I think that would be a detriment rather than
Okay.
helpful, so.
And just kind of comment overall, I'll say great job on it, like going through it. I mean, when it says comprehensive, it is comprehensive. I mean,
Pretty
it breaks down,
comprehensive.
I mean, it talks about oyster beds, curb cutting, traffic diagrams, soil all over. I mean, it is literally comprehensive. I'd
Oh, yeah.
encourage anybody to read it. Good luck with editing it. I believe it was 151 pages, so that deep edit should be fun.
I did it once with the county.
Okay. But you were saying that, I got to do a deep edit. I was like, it's pretty big, but I mean, it's done really, really well. And,
Yeah, well, all credit, it's the technical committee and Linda and Clem with Design Workshop for getting this stuff to where it is now.
Okay.
And we did have, the code, form-based code was, we had a committee that actually helped do that.
Yeah.
And then they made a presentation years ago to the council, and then we adopted it as part of a plan. So that was great. And it still holds today. I think it's good. It's maybe one or two little things that need to be changed in that.
That's great.
Yeah, there's always going to be.
But yeah. But overall, you did a great job helping add on and change a few things, and thank you.
Turn it over to Joe.
Mayor, you got anything?
Yeah, Jim, can you go to slide 4, please? I know this isn't going to drastically change the plan in any way, and I was just wondering if we can, right there, if we can use the current data to go ahead and update this graph. I mean, we expect a population of 13 in 2020. We now know what that real population number is. I was wondering if we could alter that to real numbers and see if it doesn't change the 2030 projection as we do a final adoption, that's all.
Absolutely, yeah.
Anything else?
No, very good. Kevin covered a lot of what I was going to say, so I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is comprehensive.
It's extensive.
I got into it, I thought it'd be like.
All right, Mayor, you ready to move on to the council briefing?
I am.
All right. Let's start with some project updates. Royal Palms Gravity Sewer, CDBG project, design and permitting status. 100% on plans completion, 100% on plans submitted for final approval to Beaufort Jasper. We will be applying for the OCRM or SCDHEC wastewater permit. The notice of intent permit package has been submitted. We have contacted DOT about the ownership of the road. We provided them with a map, I think, put in your packets, kind of the roads that we anticipated, as well as a couple that are adjoining some of those roads that just made sense to include in the town's road network. We're also working with Reserve Apartments because one of the termination points for that system ties into their system. Environmental clearance has been issued. We're trying to track that letter down. We're still anticipating construction completion by June of '22. We may need an extension, so we may move forward with that. Getting some environmental clearance issues have been somewhat of a challenge. Next project, Paris Avenue Streetscape. This is also CDBG. We have updated the FEMA and wetland letters. They were submitted back in the end of September. We're still waiting on environmental clearance. Our LOCOG is for this project. We've sent out notice. We did digitize the photometrics or the lights for or with Dominion Energy, so we'll incorporate that into whatever the lighting plan that we eventually come up with for this project, and anticipating completion of construction in December of '22. Dawson Place, we had some residents.
Dan,
Yeah.
quick question, sorry.
Yeah.
Quick question. The Paris Avenue Streetscape, we will bid and manage construction. The sewer, the water authority is going to bid and manage construction?
No, I think in both of those cases, we have chosen to manage them ourselves.
Okay.
And then once we complete those projects, obviously we'll turn them over. Which is, it's just that methodology has worked for us a little bit better in the field, so.
Thank you.
All right, Dawson Place, we had some concerns raised by some residents about the adjacent wetlands and the roadway. I asked for orders to go out and take a look at it. They're going to have some discussions with the county to address some of that county-owned infrastructure that's in that area. Aberley Point, y'all probably all were aware that they had some significant flooding.
Yes.
That was causing some issues for access or egress ingress for some of the residents. As you can see, there's a comment. Ward Edwards was the company that designed the system for that area. I'll just read it out. They're designing a new inlet to be placed at the entrance closest to the existing inlets and box culvert, along with the previous plan change to add a new inlet near the existing connection to the shared Aberley Point entrance. They've sketched what raising the entire road would kind of look like, and I think the two complexes are trying to get together to work out a joint solution. Once that paving did happen on some of the property next door, which involved some of the stand-up curbing, it did alleviate some of the drainage problems that they did have. I went out on site, I guess, probably 6 weeks ago, when they had a really, really significant rain, and that paving and stand-up curbing helped in a big way. So, and I think some of the issues they had around easements to the county for maintenance of some of the adjacent ditches have also been addressed and been taken care of. We also noticed, we had such significant rain several weeks ago. We always have a collection area right there at Madrid and West Paris Avenue. And so I asked Michael to kind of take a look at that. And I think we'll have some opportunities, particularly when we look at the redevelopment or development of the Anchor Park area, to possibly tie in an inlet box from that intersection, tying it into Anchor Park system, then out to Paris Avenue, which will route it down to the Cypress wetlands. The mayor and I have talked a little bit about maybe some configurations to maybe help offset that and address some of that additional volume. One of the problems I think we have right now is there's an inlet box that's in front of the Anchor Park that frequently gets blocked, and I think that's really about an elevation issue between that box and the adjacent box, because one of the boxes that actually drains into that system is in a gravel parking lot where the Low Country Land Center is. So we're getting a lot of debris that gets into that box that causes some issues. So we try to schedule as best we can the blowing those boxes out. But we also think we've got a little bit of a problem in between that box and some boxes further down before they get out. So what happens is a lot of that water has a stage behind it before it can flow out. So we're going to get Degler back out to blow the boxes forward and then address that. But I think kind of a holistic picture of drainage for that area is to get some sort of box at West Paris and tie into the system like I mentioned. So kind of a long-term look at that. Yeah, I just covered Paris Avenue, Anchor Park. Duck blind, we have got, I talked to Tony a little bit about that. And we do have the aerator working again. We did have the problem with the growth. That was a lot of the heat and rain. So hopefully lack of heat and maybe less rain, that'll take care of itself. But the aerator's working now. We talked about dragging it a little bit closer to the opposite bank because we think we've got more water there. So that should help. 10, 13th, 11th, that's when we talked about, talking about taking out a section of sidewalk. There's also a section of sidewalk on 9th Street that's been impacted by the root system. I had Mike go take a look at the tree as well as Michael Murphy to evaluate what we would need to do. And we will need to take out that section of sidewalk and do some work on that root system so that we can lay that sidewalk down flat. And when we do that, we'll probably do the same thing with the section on 11th Street. But one of the things Brooke is working on right now is we're compiling, as we talked about earlier, all of the sidewalks that we've passed ordinances on for construction. We're going to roll it up into one bid package and then bid it out. So if it takes too long, we'll go ahead and address 9th and 11th. But I'd like to roll it all into one big project and handle it that way. So Waddell. That's included here, but I think, I mentioned a little bit later in the briefing that we had a meeting with the SCDOT, Ms. Hall, who is the head of SCDOT. Shannon Erickson was able to arrange that meeting, and we discussed the Waddell crossing. I think they're going to revisit their position as to, we had invested significantly in the design and had kept running into roadblocks, but we all see where it dead ends. And we want a safe crossing from the Casablanca side over to, and we definitely would prefer to see a crossing there, so hopefully they're going to look at that again. Sands Beach, I got an email back from both Alice Howard and Jared Fralix today. The maintenance and ongoing efforts involving all of the boat landings, the Sands Beach boat landing is still included in that master plan. We're talking to Gray Ghost and I guess eventually Safe Harbor about resolving any sort of ownership issues. Because of the King's grants with that marsh, it's kind of nebulous, if you will. So I think we will probably ask them for some sort of quick claim to defer any ownership to the town if there's a question, so that's cleared up. So I don't think they want the liability of a boat landing, but they are reserving the right to assist if there are going to be improvements that they'd like to participate. So that's a good thing. Spanish Moss Trail, that same meeting, we talked with Representative Erickson and the DOT about the crossing, the documents that the town had put together with the resolution about the crossing were included in those discussions, as well as, they identified what some of the challenges were to that, but obviously there are some remedies that could be addressed. Mayor, I don't know if you wanted to talk about that at all.
No, I think I would just add that they were very open to both the suggestions of Waddell Road and Spanish Moss Crossing, and I think that we really paved the way to get both of those projects pushed through, and we're obviously looking forward to that, and we appreciate the time that they took to come down and sit with us. The meeting went for about an hour and a half, and it was a very good conversation that we had with Secretary Hall.
Yep. All right. In your packets regarding the shrimp docks, I've included that formal letter of engagement with the law firm we retained to push forward with the removal of the derelict boats. If you've had an opportunity to read the letter, you know that it's going to be expensive and it's something that has to be done. Kind of running parallel to that, I put together the documents that the state's requiring of us for the funds that they designated in the last budget. We put together a project narrative, project goals, budgets, scope of work. They wanted a copy of our latest audit as well as our latest budget, so they've got all that information. So we're in compliance, and hopefully we'll get those dollars set aside and in place to do this. Just as you many recall, the estimated cost of just the new dock is about $1.5 million. In the multi-purpose building, which would include the processing facility, as well as a retail piece that we would be doing with Safe Harbor / Gray Ghost, it's almost about a $4 million building. But we do have $600,000 that we've set aside for that, and we're getting the $900,000 from the state for the dock. So there's some really good opportunities to do some partnering here and create a kind of state-of-the-art facility, as well as a dock that would be diverse in its use, but still be available for the fishing and shrimping industry. Traffic and road projects, obviously we got the one set of speed bumps installed. I spoke with Chief Beach as well as Jeff about prioritizing the next installation, and I think we've identified Madrid. Oh, he's left. Madrid is the next project installation area. We're also looking at London Avenue and some additional sidewalks. I know that there was, stop signs. There was one other set of stop signs that I'd mentioned to y'all specifically. I'm resolving some ownership issues on the road there, so to ensure that we can actually install the stop signs there. So, Porter's Chapel, no firm date yet on that ribbon cutting, so we're still trying to make contact to get that arranged. Local option sales tax, single word, failed. So we'll try to figure out a way to fund the $4 million worth of resurfacing work. We had an opportunity, now that I can speak freely. 71% would have been set aside for property tax relief. For those of you that own 6% properties or commercial properties and pay both sides of the house for school taxes, that would have been a shot in the arm. The 29%, which some refer to as the slush fund, it's kind of an inappropriate title considering the fact that we are required to have a balanced budget, and y'all would be requiring to do that every single year. Ironically, the very thing we defeated that would have gotten property tax relief we'll probably need to add several mills to the tax bill if we want to do any of these projects. So it's something we're going to have to discuss during the budget process, whether we want to move forward with setting aside some millage to do some of the capital projects, or if there's things you want to abandon in the current budget in order to do that, such as the landscaping contract or things like that. So it's unfortunate that it failed because I think it was short-sighted, but we'll move on. American Recovery Act, we do have those funds collected. Y'all have recommendations in your packet that we can review, that we'll take an advisement and figure out how you want to allocate those funds. Naval Hospital sidewalk, I reached out to Representative Mace's office, Cody Ferguson. He's going to look into this a little bit further for us. He's a little frustrated as well, trying to get this moving, so we can actually install a sidewalk that we've had money since 2016 for. Shell Point drainage, we've been participating in the task force meetings. I think they're envisioning this very similar to what was done in the Mossy Oaks area, kind of a larger scale project that could potentially qualify for some federal funding. They've put together the scope of work, and we know what the projects are, so we're moving forward with that one. Now, that one is obviously being driven by the county, but since we have some residential areas over there, obviously we'll participate. I think we have received 4 additional FOI submittals this past month in our office. I'm not sure what the PD got, but that's how many y'all asked us for a monthly update on that. Cypress wetlands, we are still drawing it down. The additional rain didn't help with the drawdown. I also included in your package the management plan that was been put together for the wetlands, kind of moving forward and as a guide. I also would like to schedule that dedication of the Pete Richards plaque. And obviously, I don't know if many of you have seen the donor pedestal and sign that was installed by the Friends group, so looks pretty good down there. Madrid Pond aerator has been installed and is operational. We did have some problems with the seals on the units, but we've gotten those fixed. Roof repairs, both the shed and the town hall are scheduled. We're just waiting for the contractor to show up and keeping our fingers crossed that it doesn't rain again. And then Naval Heritage Park, we're repairing, repainting the gazebo, and we're building a ramp ADA compliant ramp to replace that old asphalt and earthen thing that was there. And I did see them framing it up today, so that's good. I did submit a part application. Parks and Recreation identified the installation of kind of exercise stations as one of the projects they'd like to see for the Naval Heritage Park, so we were able to put that together and it's been submitted. Those applications have to be acted upon at a legislative delegation meeting. So I think they're looking at maybe January for a meeting, so. Let's see what else I have. That was a lot. I think that is all I have for now.
Van,
Yes.
wasn't there talk about relocating that gazebo at one point?
There was, but at the end of the day, it didn't make much sense,
Right.
particularly because of the way we could tie it into the path. We just figured if we repaired it, because of its proximity to the Porter's Chapel, that it could be used as an outdoor classroom for that facility and the reconstruction of National Park Rangers, so.
Okay, I know we had talked about it, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. But I'm glad to see that we're finally repairing that entrance there, that ramp and.
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, when it's just cleaning it and painting it, it's drastically improved.
Good, okay, fair enough.
And just to clarify, so that people don't get confused, I think we all knew what you meant, but the roof repairs, it's what's left that we own of the shed, not the entire shed.
Right, it's the rear building.
It's the rear portion of the building, just so people got a clarification of what we're doing now.
Right. Sean doesn't want it raining in his office.
We understand that. Anybody else have any comments on, for Van?
The shrimp dock repair with the removal of the boats, that we haven't done a contract, but that's just I saw the prices and so forth.
Yeah. What we'll do is we'll pay them a retainer,
Yeah, I saw that.
and they'll work
$25,000.
against that retainer and go ahead and prepare the documents depending upon the state of derelict for each of the boats.
Yeah, 'cause
You
I mean,
have some
at
that
that-
have delinquent rents, some are abandoned. Some are in good standing, but may need to be repaired. And, but the reality is they all need to relocate while we build the dock.
Is there any way that we can recoup any of this cost? Because I saw what the fee, the hourly fee is, and I can imagine how long it would take to remove 9 boats
Yeah.
at that rate, what that.
Well,
fee-
the way the process would work is Brooke and I, he's coming down, we've arranged for a marine surveyor to attend. They will assign values to these boats. And we will work against what they owe the town versus what they might be worth. But this is less expensive if we can get them to move while they're floating
Yes,
versus
waiting
removing
for them to
them
fall down.
after they sink. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
That's all I've got.
Very good. If there's nothing else, we can move on to the next portion of the agenda.
All right. Give me one sec. All right, we'll start with ordinance 2021-33. This is the authorization to facilitate construction of sidewalk. This is the one that was located on 15th Street. Give Brooke a second. Obviously, we discussed this in the public hearing, but this is 100 feet that's located on 15th Street. Any questions about that one?
I'm good.
All right. The next is 2021-34, an ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property. This is also sidewalks, also discussed at the public hearing. This is 150 feet on 12th Street. This one is also in compliance with the sidewalk construction policy, and we'll probably roll this one up into, actually, the contractor in this case will probably do the construction, we'll share the cost. Any questions? All right, 2021-35, an ordinance to rezone approximately 5.18 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, Map 9, Parcel 180. This is property that was currently zoned T4 Neighborhood Center and will be rezoned as T4 Neighborhood Center Open. This is located 1251 Ladies Island Drive. we're all aware, we just had a presentation by the applicant, representative of the applicant. Was not recommended by the Metro Planning Commission due to some concerns about potential traffic issues. And you have the staff analysis in your report. Any questions on that one? Mayor, you good?
Yeah, no, I'm good with this. We've discussed this one openly. If the council has any other questions, we can talk about it again.
All right. The next is an ordinance creating Chapter 12, Section 82 of the Port Royal of Ordinances regulating ice cream trucks in the town of Port Royal. Obviously, there was an uproar over the fact that we were not allowing ice cream trucks in the town of Port Royal, and we acted quickly to remedy that situation, and hopefully we'll be hearing the sounds of ice cream truck here shortly. So, any questions about that one?
There was something that you stated that was adopted from Beaufort? What section?
Yeah, it's kind of I think the first, 2017, I think Bluffton started, or they may have started with food trucks, which included ice cream trucks. Then the city of Beaufort, I think a year or two ago, amended their ordinance, amended their food truck ordinance to allow ice cream trucks. Because of how peculiar our ordinance is currently with peddlers in specific locations, we decided to go ahead and move forward with the ice cream truck ordinance, and then maybe address food trucks a little bit later. But the stipulations as to how they operate are basically identical to what they do in the city of Beaufort.
Okay.
Very good.
All right. First readings. 2021-37, ordinance adopting an update to the Town of Port Royal Comprehensive Plan as required under South Carolina Code of Laws, Section 6-29-510E. Metro Planning Commission made a recommendation with some stipulations, which Noah ran you through. We did have the presentation. We will post that presentation to the website tomorrow, so everybody can take a look at it.
And can we post the whole plan?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we can do that. So,
Dan, I couldn't hear the question. What was the question?
he wanted to make sure we posted the whole plan as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And is the ordinance on the ice cream truck on the internet too?
It's not on our website, but it's in your council packet.
Right, I saw it on my
Yeah.
council packet, I read it, but I just didn't know if it was on
Not yet,
the
not yet.
site.
All right. Council action. First is we have two reappointments to the Park and Recreation Commission, Michael Merrow and Charlotte Murray, and I believe they both
Yes.
agreed to serve again. All right. And the second action item is the approval of the garbage contract. I'm going to defer to Brooke on this one. She's been handling it. I think she's got some thoughts and recommendations she'd like to run past y'all.
In your council packets, you'll see that I've included the tabulation on all three of the proposals that we've received. I also today, just actually probably about an hour or two ago, I included a memo as well. Looking at the tabulation, Waste Pro comes in at the lowest bid, which is $328,890. Low Country Sanitation would be the middle one, which is at $393,948. And then Capital Waste comes in at the highest with $460,548. The difference between Waste Pro and Capital is $131,000. We've advertised starting September 12th. Van and I both held a pre-proposal meeting on October 6th. We met with Capital Waste, we met with Low Country Sanitation, as well as Waste Pro. We actually had a chance to explain what we were looking for. We're within the last few years, taking kind of what we've heard from the residents as well as from staff of what we are looking for. And they were able to ask us different questions too on their ends. And then on October 15th, we received their bids in the office. And I contacted their referrals, and in the memo, you'll see their feedback from the references as well as staff feedback. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
The staff feedback that you're talking about are the pros and cons?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So when, with Waste Pro, it says, so service has been faulty, but, you know, but they correct it as soon as, I mean, how are they when issues are brought up to them?
Van and I have a direct contact with the manager of residential contracts. He's also one of the drivers.
Yeah.
As soon as we contact him,
I got you, 'cause,
it's
you know,
done.
just-
It's turned around.
Because, I mean, that's, would you say that, because it's a yearly contract, right?
It starts off at 2 years,
Okay.
and then there's an additional 3 years at 1 year increments that can be given.
Okay.
I asked this before also, do we have any teeth in this contract for poor service that we can hold their feet to the fire?
We can turn-
Anyone, I'm not talking about any one particular,
Right.
but anyone, you know, if you go in, they're unresponsive, lack of service, unsatisfactory performance, what kind of teeth do we have that we can probably subtract a portion of their monthly,
There's not a monetary, anything monetary that we can do, but it's terms for termination.
okay,
So,
what's that stipulated, 30, 60, 90, what days?
I am not sure if that is given. I'll
That's
check and I'll get back to you.
Because I'm just curious, I'm just concerned also, we just don't want to have a repeat of the behaviors. Because I hate my phone ringing off the hook in regards to the same matter on a monthly basis. But again, I don't know, I'm not making a decision, I'm just saying, you know, just based on the past practices and so forth and performance, you know, I just want to ensure that we protect the town and our constituents also, because they want a peace of mind in ensuring that, you know, they're paying for this service. And if you're not getting the service that you're paying for, why have it?
Yes, sir.
That's all.
And I believe
Anything else?
just some important information and dates. Here we go. All right, well, we have, on Saturday, November 6th, we have 2 oyster roasts. One from 4:30 to 7:30 by the help of Beaufort at the Community Beer Garden. Then from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Live Oak Park is the Rotary Club of the Low Countries Oyster Roast. Then on Tuesday, November 9th at 6:30 p.m. we have the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. Wednesday the 10th at 6:30 we have the regular council meeting. Friday and Saturday, November 12th and 13th, we have the Bands, Brews, and Barbecue. Then on Thursday, November 11th, we have the Salute to Service Veterans Day. And then on Thursday and Friday, November 25th and 26th, obviously, we're closing observance, so
A
Thanksgiving.
lot going on Saturday. You got the Commanders Ball at the AmVet on Saturday as well, right here in Port Ross.
That's all I got.
Eating a lot of oysters.
Yes, lots of oysters.
Lots, very good. Council have any questions or comments?
I'm good.
No questions. Go Braves.
Van?
What a night. Won the election and the Braves won
That was awesome.
the series. Woo-hoo, Daryl. I watched it the night,
Interesting.
yeah, I watched it the night before, and I hate to admit that I was so excited, and I was watching it, and I thought, well, they are making the same mistakes they made last night. And then I realized it was a replay that I was watching. So,
You should have bet on that game.
know.
That's a shoe
I was
in.
like, dang. Kind of embarrassed to admit it, but it's the truth.
Well, if everybody's good, are we ready to adjourn?
Yeah.
They're all nodding.
We're all nodding. Well,
Yes.
thanks everybody for participating tonight. I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. Have a great day.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Let's adjourn.
See you, Joe.